Why have a bunch of Apex pros recently been switching to controller? Well, to answer this question, we have to go back to when video games were first created in the early 1950s. At first, they were created to explore programming, human-computer interactions, and computer algorithms. But ever since the invention of the first digital computer games in the early 1960s, with games like Tennis for Two and Space War, developers have constantly been innovating and evolving gaming into what we see today.
If you look closely, what he did was attach a mouse pad to some sort of contraption and added boobs, which he then filled with sensors.
One of the most popular genres right now is the first-person shooter, or FPS genre. It all started from games like Wolfenstein 3D and the original Doom. And even though most of you watching are probably too young to have ever played those games, they were the first games that popularized the FPS genre. Other game developers were inspired by the fast-paced, action-packed gameplay and the technical prowess required to master it, and copied the same formula for their games, but expanded on it in their own ways. A couple years down the line, by 2001, Xbox released their first console, and with it, an FPS called Halo Combat Evolved. Before Halo, console FPSs didn't really exist, but because of Halo's smooth, well-optimized controller gameplay, it had a huge burst in popularity, and it modernized the console FPS genre.
First-person shooters had only really largely existed at scale on PC, and mapping those controls to the controller, they just did it right. It just felt right.
The controls felt natural. You could tell like that it was going to be a breakthrough for first-person shooter.
It was a bit of an epiphany of, oh, like you can do that? Like you can play this kind of game on a console?
And this was just the start of the console FPS revolution. But because of how much more accessible and affordable consoles were than PCs, a larger percentage of gamers played games on console. But what if game developers were able to bridge the gap between PC and console players and make their games cross-platform? At the time, consoles just weren't powerful enough to support cross-platform. But by 2012, with the start of the 8th generation of consoles, cross-platform became possible from a technical standpoint, but game developers began to realize the problem was more than a technical issue. President of Voodoo PC, Rahul Sood, tested cross-platform between Xbox 360 and PC players, and stated, "Even skilled console players got destroyed every time in matches against computer players of mediocre skill, due to the difference between controller and keyboard and mouse controls." Cliff Bleszinski, who was the lead designer of the first 3 Gears of War games, wanted to add cross-platform to his upcoming game Lawbreakers, but he believed it was just a pipe dream, since placing tools such as aim assist to help console players against PC players would lead to PC players getting upset at the handicap that this introduced. Eventually, in 2016, Blizzard was able to implement cross-platform into their new FPS, Overwatch, but they were aware of the advantages mouse and key had over controller and fast-paced gameplay, so their solution was to keep the game's competitive game modes segregated into console and PC player pools. And then, in September 2017, a game called Fortnite was released. When Fortnite first released, it instantly became a cultural phenomenon. Over 125 million players were registered within a year. Shortly after its release, due to a configuration issue, all PC, Xbox, and PlayStation users were able to play alongside each other. While Epic Games quickly corrected this mistake, that bug gave the developers a vision of one community for their massive game. Later, in September of 2018, Fortnite officially became the first game to be cross-platform for PC, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, and even mobile. Whether you're on a $5,000 high-end gaming PC or on your mom's old iPad, everyone plays together. This feature completely changed video games forever and propelled Fortnite to new heights. The game generated over $9 billion in income from its inception to December 2019, despite the game being completely free to play. The game was so popular that Drake, Travis Scott, and Juju Smith-Schuster live-streamed the game with Ninja on Twitch, and ended up breaking the record for most concurrent viewers on a live stream.
I got 5K donation if you get this dub right now.
Yeah?
Oh my god! I'm a man of my word, I got you.
Due to the immense popularity of the game, the competitive Fortnite scene began to gain a lot of traction, but with the addition of crossplay, the controller and mouse and key debate would become increasingly fierce. While MNK players generally dominated the competitive scene for most of 2019, there were signs of change throughout the year. By December, pro Fortnite player Unknown Army became the first controller player to qualify for the Fortnite World Cup 2 seasons in a row. That's when other pro players started to realize just how overpowered controller really was, and a bunch of pro players ended up having great success after switching from MNK to controller.
Wow. I think I just upgraded to controllerless Grima. It's official.
The Fortnite community started to get fed up.
You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them! Bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness! I hate you!
Ninja said during a League of Legends stream,
I haven't played Fortnite really. I haven't like legitimately played Fortnite in a long time. Like, right now, it's just not. It's not like a healthy state on PC. I really just want that controller aim assist on PC balanced.
Tfue, who became the most watched Fortnite streamer after Ninja left for Mixer, tweeted, "Aim assist ruined Fortnite for MNK players. Looks like we need to find a new game. Unlucky." And then, on February 4th, 2019, Apex Legends released. Apex attempted to capitalize off of the hype that games like PUBG and Fortnite generated around the Battle Royale genre, but with Titanfall's style of fast-paced gameplay that rewarded smooth movement and precise aim, and unique legends with their own backstories and distinctive abilities, and people were instantly hooked. The game surpassed 25 million players by the end of its first week, and 50 million within its first month. Within the first few months of the game's release, there were already huge tournaments like Twitch Rivals, X Games, and even tournaments hosted by some of the biggest content creators in the world.
Y'all ready for this?
By the end of 2019, Apex hosted its first ever LAN tournament in Poland. And for a lot of people, this was their first time experiencing Apex being played at such a high level. And this is where some of the biggest names in Apex first ended up making a name for themselves.
So that's going to be a big setback there, but MVP is not the one we're worried about. Is there just a setback here for TSM? Who is going to do it? TSM are your champions!
During these tournaments early in the game's life cycle, almost all pro players were mouse and key players, with the only exceptions being Nicewig.
My name is Jack Martin, also known as Nicewig. I am a controller professional player on PC. For Counterlogic Gaming, I was the first controller player ever signed to a Tier 1 organization.
And Snipedown.
My name is Eric Rona. I go by Snipedown, and I'm a professional Apex Legends player for Team Rogue. A lot of people are going to say I'm slimy solely because I play on controller. If I kill you and you blame aim assist every single time, then I'm going to let you keep blaming it, because at the end of the day, I'm beating you.
Yo, aim assist is not broken, but I got gold stabilizers right here.
A professor named Regan Mandrake, who runs the interaction lab for a university in Canada and extensively studied the dynamics of playing with a controller or playing with mouse and key, stated, "It's like comparing apples to oranges." While both inputs have their strengths and weaknesses, she concluded that there's no question that the mouse is the faster and more accurate aiming device. While some pros believe that controller and mouse and key should be split up into separate divisions altogether to establish competitive integrity.
Always been like this, and I've always said there shouldn't be aim assist or controllers or whatever in tournaments.
Yeah.
So like when in Apex, for example, like when you have like half and half, it's just kind of, I don't know, the competitive integrity is already gone from the get-go.
It's far too late for Apex. The competitive scene is already mixed, and aim assist is needed on controller to help level the playing field. But even with the assisted aim, the majority of pro players still favored mouse and key over controller at this point.
Controller they need to add 3 things to controller. They need to introduce moving while looting. They need to make it to where you don't get fucking aim assist on people on the ground. Like, they just need to remove that shit. You don't need aim assist on people on the goddamn ground. It fucks up with it shooting at people. And thirdly, being able to, like interact with doors and stuff and reload and stuff. I feel like that'd be nice to switch up. Would you main controller? No, I would never main controller in my life. I'm just playing it for fun.
All right, let me see that.
In fact, Being a successful controller player was so rare that one article compared Nicewig's success on controller in Apex to Jimi Hendrix playing his guitar upside down. Nicewig himself has said, "Me playing on mouse and keyboard would have attracted no one. We controller players are at such a disadvantage other than close range gunfights because that's how Apex is." And at the time, a lot of pros felt the exact same way.
Only reason why us mouse and key players get like pissed off when we die to controller is because it literally feels like we get aimbotted, like close range. So like, it feels like we get cheated, if that makes sense. It's only close range though. There's not outside of that, you know, it's nothing.
But throughout 2021 and 2022, with the Legend meta shifting from the more defensive Gibby Caustic meta into the more aggressive Seer Valk meta, and with the success of full controller teams like G2's old roster,
Why are you by yourself? Follow me on rotation! You've done it twice now in a row! Fucking follow me! Stop walking around by yourself! Follow me! We wouldn't have been able to capitalize on shit because you're so fucking far behind because you're in fucking La La Land. Freaking La La Land, broski!
the tide began to shift, and other pro players began to realize just how useful having aim assist on your team can be.
I just gotta ask you one thing. As long as you don't go 5 feet away from someone and hit like a 140 spray with the controller and then say, "This is aimbot, oh my god," just like everyone else does when they first play controller, then we're good.
Okay.
Don't be that guy.
Gotcha. Oh my, wait! Oh wait, this shit is cheating!
Hopping on your right. Am I not? Getting dark.
Oh my, wait, hold up. I can't reload!
Yeah.
I can't reload!
Welcome to hell. Welcome to hell, brother.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's not that great, is it?
Yeah, okay, so I can see the complaint.
And then, in the summer of 2022, at the Rallyland tournament, TSM had a disappointing 7th place finish. The IGL for TSM, Imperial Hal, realized something had to change if they wanted to win. That's when Hal officially made the switch from mouse and key to controller. But with Hal already being one of the most mechanically gifted players on mouse and key, some pros didn't fully agree with his decision to switch.
Bro, you're so much better on MK, bro. Stop playing controller, seriously. Play controlling.
Bro, I've top fragged and done the most damage on controller too. Oh, you just brought up a point. I get disrespected with my mechanics 24/7. It's actually insane.
Mentally, if you're in my game, I'm more scared of you if you're on MK than I am if you're on controller.
Alright.
Yeah, I mean, you're good on both. I'm not saying that.
Parker,
I'm
it's
just saying,
9 months.
Just MK is just like a different beast.
But Hal trusted his instincts and stuck with controller. And even though at times, things were looking a little rough,
Like, where the fuck are my shots going?
after a couple months of consistent practice on controller, Hal started to see improvements in his gameplay. And because controller was mechanically easier than mouse and key, Hal was able to focus less on his mechanics and more on his IGLing.
It's so much less effort compared to mouse and key. The meta like shifted in a way, like, you know, we talked about it with Horizon Seer, where it was a lot more aggressive, and at the time, because the meta before that, it was a lot more passive. And that, you know, my IGLing skills at the time, you know, before that was a lot more passive. Like, so it turned all the way into like a lot more like aggressive 3v3s. And me playing controller changed my mindset. It would change my mindset quicker because I'm a controller and I was more confident compared to me playing mouse and key.
And because of this, and the signing of their new coach Raven, TSM were improving overall as a team. Other pro teams started to take note of TSM's success after Hal switched, and eventually, by November, 12 out of 14 of the highest performers in North America were controller players. But with the London LAN coming up in February, the real test was yet to begin. Now, I already broke down TSM's performance in this video right here, so if you're curious about their performance, I'd highly recommend checking that out first. But in short, TSM got the win, and even showed flashes of how they used to look back in their prime days with Albert Laley. With this win, Imperial Hal officially became the first person to have ever won an international tournament on both mouse and key and controller. And a lot of people assumed that the main factor in TSM's win was Hal's switch to controller.
I think ever since like the meta changed to, you know, Seer and Horizon, I was mechanically like lacking in my opinion. So I decided to switch to controller. And it's the first LAN I played on controller, and I got MVP, won the LAN. So I feel like I took a big risk playing controller and swapping to something that I haven't played in for a while, and it all paid off, so.
This ended up sparking a huge shift in the Apex comp scene, and all of a sudden, some of the most mechanically gifted MNK players in Apex were switching to controller.
Do you know who Taskmaster is from EU? Or Russia, I guess?
What are we talking about? Apex? Is it?
Yeah, you don't know.
No, I'm clueless.
A couple Russian players, they're just fucking insane on MNK.
Okay.
And one of them, he's arguably probably the best in the world if he isn't cheating. And he's just like full committed to roller. And I just wasn't sure if you'd know him or not.
That's scary. I'm not sure. I predict in the next year, we'll have like 75% rollers with 25% MNK.
And with clips like this, it's easy to see why. But just because some of the best Apex pros in the world can pick up a controller and instantly start frying people, doesn't mean that just anyone can do it. A good example of this is pro controller player Zane's 1v3 during the London LAN finals.
Behind them, because there are a couple of teams in the vicinity. Zane shreds, and suddenly Urban gets hit to the floor. Oh my goodness, what are you doing to him, Zane? He finds two, and the one clips, he's gonna make it three! Zane, you are a maniac!
Pro Quake player from Serbia, VF Sirius, reacted to this on Twitter, clowning Zane and claiming that all controller players can hit clips like this. While I will admit, aim assist is strong and can definitely use a nerf. You can't just completely discredit what Zane did just because he's a controller player. Zane wasn't the only controller player in the lobby that day. If it really was that easy, then surely there would have been a bunch of clips just like this. You could make an argument that the team he 1v3'd at the time was completely clueless and barely even shot back at him.
I mean, what the fuck is this team doing? What is this team doing? Like, after this happens, how are you not... What a beamer, bro.
And suddenly Urban gets hit to the floor. Oh my goodness, what are you doing to him, Zane? He finds two, and the one clips, he's gonna make it three! Zane, you are a maniac!
Oh my god! Pretty standard kills there, but we're excited because it's on land.
But what about later in that same game, when he 1v3'd 100 Thieves as well?
Zane killed Gunman.
Lou, I think part of my argument is that I...
Oh my god, he's 1v3ing them!
This is the greatest rock performance I've ever seen in my life.
But according to VF Sirius, he's seen controller players in low ranks hit shit like this. Now, I don't know what controller players in low ranks he's running into, but from my experience, the low rank controller players look more like this.
We strategized effectively. Reload.
I'm getting shot.
Oh my god! The Kraber shot! Let's fucking go!
I get that it's frustrating committing thousands of hours to perfecting your aim on mouse and key, just to get destroyed up close by a controller player who's on an 80-inch flat screen TV, but that doesn't mean you can just completely discredit what every single pro controller player has done in Apex. Daltouche, who is one of the most popular controller players in Apex, and everyone's favorite alcoholic.
Beer count for the night is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
He said, if I say that MNK players on Apex respect controller players for their skill, I'd be lying. While studying aim assist, the Interaction Lab found out that when players won, they thought it was because of their skills, but when they lost, they claimed the other person was getting help. At the end of the day, this bitterness might just come down to human nature. But that brings me to my final point. One of the biggest arguments I've seen within the whole MNK versus controller debate is if controller is so broken, then why don't you just switch?
What does that take? Just switch. Why don't you guys switch? Why? Why does it have to us to switch? Why not you guys? Dude, nobody wants to switch. You guys get mad when I tap strafe 360 over your head, then you can't turn around. Yes, that's fine. I don't mind that. And I get mad when I get beamed for 200 close range by a guy that has 200 hours in the game. Yes, we are the same. So shut up.
Hal proved just how overpowered controller can be in competitive.
Mechanically, Hal is just a fundamentalist.
Yeah, the game's
so when you transition those fundamentals onto controller with the brain that Hal has, bro, you create a monster.
I mean, bro, this dude just swapped inputs and won a LAN.
That's true.
JamW swapped inputs and won a LAN. Like all the mother that are crying and saying, fine, just switch then if it's so OP. Like, are switching and are winning.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder what those people think after Hal just popped the fuck off in his first LAN on roller.
But for anyone that just plays the game casually, while both inputs may have their advantages and disadvantages, aim is just part of the equation for winning. Things like positioning, awareness, rotations, and team coordination is often just as important, if not more important than your aim. Instead of worrying about what everyone else is using, you should just play whatever input you feel the most comfortable with or have the most fun with.
I don't give a fuck if you're playing keyboard and mouse or controller. Play whatever the fuck you want and don't be a pussy. Easy. There.
I do think rollers are strong. I think controllers is kind of hard to play on, right? It's definitely not the easiest thing because it's like you're limited with your fingers for sure. But I think if you play controller a lot, I don't think it's that hard. I wouldn't say it's easy, don't get me wrong. Like, it's still very challenging, but I think it's definitely harder for MK players on this. To aim, of course. I mean, that's how it should be for sure, but I mean, would I ever go on controller like full time? Like, no, I don't think so.
I mean, my fucking perspective on it is who gives a fuck what you use, man? Like, you play on PC, you play PC. Good shit, man. You play on controller, you play on controller. Who the fuck cares? Like, play what you like, use what you like, and stop bitching.
The whole point of competition is like fair play, you know, competitive integrity, right? So if a mouse and keyboard isn't fair against a controller, or vice versa, because they both have their pros and cons, they shouldn't exist in the same world. It's really that simple. Doesn't matter what has more of an advantage or what doesn't.
If you really think controller is really that broken, then play, and you're a top player and you're trying to get earnings and shit, play controller then. Otherwise, it's just something they're gonna have to live with. That's just kind of bottom line, bro.
This is, obviously I'm biased, but I feel like I'm like one of the only like I'm probably the only player that can maybe play as good as they are on mouse and key on controller. From like watching other people play, I don't think there's a single other controller like mouse and key player that can swap the controller and still be good, kind of good as they are on mouse and key. Like Zach can't do that, Luke cannot do that. Like I haven't seen another player like play controller that usually play mouse and key, and is like, damn, they're pretty good, or like they're better, if that makes sense.